What's up? I'm Captain Mel Asylum with the Starship Rebellion, and here's another Galactic Tea, aka Mel's Reviews. Today, we're welcoming 2025 by reviewing Cleopatra 2525. This is a show from my adolescence. It came out in 2000, 2001, when I was about 16, 17 years old. I don't know if this was like my Wednesday, like kids today watch Wednesday and that becomes their personality. There was so much about this show that already I related to. I like the techno scene, even though I'd never actually seen the techno scene. It was something that I saw on MTV back when they used to have music videos. A very 90s techno music video. Most music videos had this, like, I'll think of the word later, coloring over it and color scheme. It's very cyber techno, all that stuff. That to have a device that did a whole bunch of stuff on your wrist, technically that's not what they had. They had a wristband that they stuck stuff to that did a whole bunch of little things. Kind of like adding apps, but they actually interact with your environment. So, like lasers or grappling nets. So the premise of the show is technically the setting. The setting being that humans are living underground now because there are these devices or alien beings. The people don't know exactly what they are. They know that they can't go above ground because some things are up there and they're going to kill you if you're not already one of the people that they deem okay, and those people worship them. So it's basically a post-apocalyptic world where people live in these tunnels underground, and it's very concrete, it's very man-made, in contrast to the earth where the above ground where everything is green and luscious and everything's allowed to grow because there's almost no humans. They live in like little villages made of whatever's out there. So there's a hint of green punk. There's a hint of the cyberpunk. There's dystopia. There's this also underwater society that we get to see like once. That it's very something else. I guess they're also kind of green punk because they're inspired by living away from everything that is destroying the planet. There's a lot of hints to humanity just destroying the planet. All of this is introduced to us by our main character, Cleopatra. Cleopatra is a woman who went in for surgery in the year 2001. There were complications with her surgery, and now she has to go into, they freeze her. She gets unfrozen in the year 2525. Through the eyes of Cleopatra, we get to see all this world is. We get to learn of the underground from her perspective of not knowing what anything is. This is a very common way in any fantasy or sci-fi to introduce a world that's not normal to us by putting a character in there that doesn't know of that world and introducing them to it. That way you're not just narrating. She is a very goofy, quite nerdy, actually, with all the references she does for different science fiction and fantasy, especially science fiction. You can very much tell just from her lines that the writers are huge sci-fi fans. But there's also a lot of well done sci-fi tropes in the show that is also just done in such an enormously campy way that it seems ridiculous, but it's not coming from a ridiculous place. Like Cleopatra going in for surgery and then coming out in 2525 seems like, okay, cool, sci-fi thingy. After you think about the fact that she went in for a boob job in 2021 and for some reason almost died from a boob job. It's like, okay, and also she was a stripper, so was this like an underground like sneaky like basement place, like where people go get BBLs today, um, where she went to go get this boob job, but also had cryogenic technology at the same time. Campy, weird. Okay, cool. Like once you throw those aspects in with it, it's like, are they serious? But they don't take themselves seriously. That's the awesome part. Like there are serious ideas, but they don't take themselves too seriously. So that is Cleopatra. Now for Helen. Helen is was my favorite character, still is. She's the leader of the group. Through Helen, we get to be introduced to the voice groups, and she is a leader of a voice, meaning she has a little implant behind her ear, allowing her to hear a voice. This voice belongs to an actual person who gives her her orders and lead her group to doing missions to help retake the upside, to go back to above ground where humans are supposed to live, fighting the alien monster robot thingies. Yes, that is right. See, I told you, can't be ridiculousness that makes sense. From our perspective, we don't truly know what they are. It's been 500 years since things have come to Earth and basically made it inhabitable for us. So, how is the leader of this group? She is very goal oriented. She sticks to what the task is. She's always concerned about making sure her team, she's the leader. Like, and outside of being the leader, she actually does have a personality, uh, a background. There's she loves her father, who she assumes died when she was a kid. She, because of her father's death, she's so serious about what she does, and she's good at it, despite other people telling her she's not, which sucks. Sarge she's one of the team. She is kind of hypersexualized, and that's not saying a lot coming from this show, considering this is their armor. They're warriors, and this is their armor. One of the plots in the story gets them killed because she tries to reprogram a friendly robot for pleasure. She gets into trouble a lot. She is very action oriented. She reacts when it comes to violence or getting pleasure. And that gets her in trouble many times. But the team still loves her because she's their friend. I'm like, I would have kicked her out a long time ago. I don't know why. It was like the first one that tried to kill. There's several robots that they tried to kill them, that she tried to sleep with or either did. Voice is another character, the leader of all the rebels trying to get back to Earth. This is a very mysterious character until we get to the end of season 2, where the show has abruptly been canceled, and now the writers have to quickly stitch and smash together a final episode that finishes everything. In contrast to The Voice, we have Crichton. Crichton is a scary clown character from the early 2000s. Considering this was is ICP considered dance music too? Because Juggalos would answer that really quickly. Like, it's rap, it's metal, people dance to it. I don't know. Does it fit into the whole techno thing? I was there, and I don't know. I was never an ICP fan. I've been told several times that because I am a Rage fan that I would like ICP, and I think that's because they know only one fact about both those bands, and that is a fusion of rap and rock. Nothing else they have in common. Absolutely nothing. ICP knows nothing and talks about, I don't know. All I remember about ICP is that they don't know how magnets work. Whereas the Rage Against the Machine's second album The album cover and the CD has a list and picture of all of the books that were used as references to write the like highly intelligent with references with receipts, like versus I don't know how magnets work. Like go to third grade, go third grade and find out. Okay. Creighton is a troublemaker. He, for some reason that we don't find out till later, is working with the Baileys. Yay! Working against humanity. A scary clown working against humanity. That makes sense. Okay. Bowser, another bridge between the Baileys and the Resistance. The Resistance have taken Bowser and reprogrammed him. He was a, what do you call it? Betrayer's a cyborg created by the Baileys. God, my brain does not want to take in and let out information. It's holding all of it, but it's not letting it out. That's half the point of doing the show. So he was reprogrammed. He's kind of their guy in the chair. He stays at the base and does all the tech stuff. He creates devices for them for both fun and for work. And he's not he's not enormously good at it, but he's pretty good at it. Like he doesn't know the outcome of everything because he doesn't quite understand what he's making or what he's using to make things with, which is understandable, which also is an understandable way for things to go wrong or for things to go a different way. So, like him not knowing what a dog is. Like he kind of knows what a dog is from like Alkites, but they don't have dogs anymore. So, him trying to create a cybernetic dog means that the dog does things that real dogs don't do because he's never seen a real dog. He doesn't know what they are. So the thing, responds and talks with English. That's another thing about the world that kind of made me question. We've got, in 500 years, standard English would change. It has changed within the last 500 years. And especially when you have when you separate people, like even with research stations where people go to the Antarctic to do research, that team comes back with their own dialect because they've been separated from the rest of the people who speak a certain way. Just like we have different dialects all over the United States. And look at Europe. Europe is smaller than the United States, and there's so many different countries with their own language and culture and everything. So, yeah, in 500 years, a society that lives underground would speak a different language, and there is no sign of translation technology. There's a bunch of other random characters I'm not going to go into. They're kind of like side characters. Yay. They do actually help us understand the world that is being portrayed in the show, and also the progression of the story because they live in it. The overall philosophy of the show is what humanity is capable of when it comes to surviving, just like any other apocalyptic anything. It's also very much driven by the reason for society to be in the situation that it is in. It was very reminiscent rewatching Cleopatra 2525. I really like the show. I like the aesthetic of the show. I like the music of the show, the feel. I love the goofiness. Like even though some of the sci-fi stuff doesn't make sense. And there's one thing that I did want to look up to bring up that was like shocking to me because there is a device that works with vibrations, and they concluded that when you get shot with it, that you would be that you would work at a different frequency. Like whatever gets shot with it is now vibrating in a different frequency. The word was right. Like the word made sense with what it does. In contrast to going in for breast implants and almost dying and needing to be cryogenically frozen to a future time in which we can help you. don't typically die from breast implant surgery. Like, you can get sick afterwards from like the implant, like soaking into your bloodstream and stuff and poisoning you, and that's terrible. And that can happen. If that had happened and then she was cryogenically frozen, I think it would make sense. But the science was so soft, and the science was so, a lot of the story was sexually driven, and you can see that in the costumes. You can see that, and I'm also glad that they sexualized the men equally than they did as the women. Like, not all the time, but there were many occasions where men were just being sexualized, and so I don't mind it as much. I think that was pretty progressive back then, like to sexualize women in the forefront. Like, oh, women can be superheroes as long as we feel that they're sexy, but they also equally made the men hot and partially naked. So I was okay with it because it's equal. It's not like, oh, women, they're just sexy. No, the dudes got the, it was everyone, everyone who was beautiful. There are like these deformed mole type people at the bottom, but yeah, it, like, even the heroes were sexualizing random dudes that they saw. Like when they went to the ocean city, the ocean part, the Atlantis little area. Um, the first thing you hear is them sexualizing the prince. It was very equal. It was very equal, and I'm happy with that. Like, if you're going to sexualize things, sexualize things. There's nothing wrong with sexualizing things. It's wrong when you just want to say that only these people are sexual. I just did Gina Torres, one of my favorite actors of all time. I haven't obviously seen everything that she's in. I'm not interested in Suits. Um, but anything that I've seen her in is just, I don't get to see a lot of Black Latinos. You know, we don't. And I just did a video with Alan Tudyk. So, what other show should I watch that includes the cast of Firefly until I get to the final where I just do Serenity and Firefly? That's what I was thinking going through this. I'm like, okay, I just did Resident Alien. Let's do the rest of the cast since I'm doing Cleopatra 2525 now. Oh, and don't forget to join the conversation. You can talk to me in my comments. You can go to my social media. And don't forget, I'm also one of the voices in hyperspace, the podcast where friends get together and talk about all things sci-fi. We are currently watching Babylon 5, so there is a lot of deep conversations, especially about politics. So I typically find some way to bring psychology into this. Yeah, everyone be safe. I love you. Bye.